If you're always the one who loves more, it doesn't mean that your love is deeper. It may mean that you desire to control the relationship from above. And controlling the relationship from above feels a lot safer, and that's why you do it as a form of control, right? So you've taken on caring as a role. You become the planner, you manage the emotional roller coaster of the relationship, you keep the relationship alive, you walk on eggshells and manage and plan and initiate and fix, and you're doing a lot, right? In this conversation, we're gonna call like this over caring, right? So you're doing a lot of over caring. This over caring creates a false sense of safety because when you do more, you tell yourself that the relationship is working because of the effort that you're putting in. And that feels a lot safer than saying or admitting to yourself that the relationship may not survive if you weren't putting so much effort in, right? So it feels safer to display a behavior, in this case, over caring, that controls the relationship and manages it in a way that keeps it going. Whereby without your effort, without you doing all these things, the fear is we may not even be in a relationship. The reason why, because I want you to really understand why you're doing this in relationships, right? Is because equal investment can feel very risky, right? When you feel like, when you have to wait for someone to put in as much as you're putting in, the fear is, well, what if they don't put in? If you have to wait for them to initiate and they don't initiate, what do we have? Right? And so the fear is more terrifying than actually discovering the truth of the relationship. So in order to avoid the truth of whatever is going to be unveiled, revealed, your inner being is like, all right, let's just do it. Let's just put the effort in. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. So I want you to check in and see if this is if you've experienced this before. The other side of this is that caring more can hide resentment really well, because it's not like you do this and the energy just, it causes a lot of disappointment, exhaustion, anger, like anger that's like, a crock pot when it's boiling, and if you open it too fast, it just boils over. That anger that simmers underneath. A lot of women suffer silently in anger and just wishing that I wish he would do more. I wish, he would act right. I wish he would give me the effort I give. You give, you give, you give, you serve, you serve, you serve. You give it. Your biggest thing is, I just wish someone would give me the same attention, intentionality, planning that I give them. You just want that back. The biggest fear is, but if I'm not doing this, if I'm not giving the effort, I'm afraid it won't exist. I'm afraid it won't be there. And that's more hurtful. That's more scary than you overgiving and overgiving and overgiving. So I want you the shift you have to make, right, to begin the healing process. This is called the queen wound. And the queen wound there's a belief that in order to be loved, you have to be less. And how this shows up for women who have this overgiven behavior is that it shows up overgiven as a form of control, so that I don't get hurt by someone not being there for me. The biggest fear is like no one will show up for me, and that feels like rejection, and that feels like abandonment, and I cannot take that. So that's happening on a subconscious level. And so in order for you to avoid that form of rejection and abandonment, you show up in overgiving and using your effort to control another person's behavior. So you don't want to control someone else's behavior by overgiving. What you get to do and what you're invited to do, right, as a process of beginning to heal this queen wound, right, is begin to step back and allow the reality of what they are doing to show up. Allow the reality to reveal itself. Sometimes it's not that people don't want to step up, is that there's no room to step up. There's no space to do that, right? And so I want you to check in and look, is this what's been going on with me over the years or over the past few months, or whatever you feel like, yeah, this is kind of how I am and how I behave when it comes to a romantic relationship. Now, this might be entirely different. This is why this is the queen wound, is romantic relationship based. This might be completely different with how you show up with other people. That's why in this channel, I'm only talking about high achieving women when in the context of love and the context of a romantic relationship. This is why I describe the queen wound. So women who are high achieving women who do well in other categories, except for love, can see how these things are triggering painful past, painful feelings and emotions, and really stepping on those triggers. And it's creating this automatic behavior, because you're like, I don't know why I'm like this in romantic relationship. Like, why do I behave like this in men? And that can be exhausting. And that can be part of the reason. In fact, I know it's a huge reason why when it comes to high achieving women and romantic relationship, why things don't work out is because automatically it's like, but my life is great, except for when I'm dealing with men, right? You know what I mean? And so I want us to address these things, right? So you too can have a healthy, loving relationship where you are loved well, where the man loves you unconditionally, where he loves your fullness of who you are, and that you are enough, and that you're not too much, that your bright light is never too much for a man who loves you for who you are. You know, it's perfect that you are loved unconditionally. That's my goal with this channel, is that to help you heal these parts, right, that sabotage relationship or that attracts the wrong man to you, so that you can have the best relationship that leads to marriage that you can have. That's my goal, is that all the women, high achieving women, we need the most amount of support ever. Like, to relax, to lay our hair down, to let somebody hold us, to be able to cry, to not be the strong one, somebody that sees you, anticipates, somebody that is initiates, you know what I mean? A true leader in this, in every sense, without diminishing who you are and everything that you have going on. Like, he really just loves you for who you are. You deserve that. And I want you to know that you can have that. We can all have that. We can all have that. And it's available for you, especially once you start processing and just doing the work that allows you to arrive as a woman who's already chosen. That's the work we do, arriving as a woman who's already chosen. But when we're overgiven, clearly you can see that I'm not a woman who's already chosen, unless I wouldn't be overgiven. So again, caring more is not proof that there's real love there. It just shows that, you know, there's a need to control the outcome. And in order for me to control the outcome, I have to expend all this energy. I have to give all these things, you know, into the relationship. I have to manage it just to make sure that things are working. If any of this resonate with you, definitely share with me in the comment section. Like, yes, I think I did this in romantic relationships before. As a matter of fact, I'm doing it now. I can see myself in the romantic relationship and how I'm doing that now. I didn't realize that this is what I'm doing. If that's you, leave me a comment. Definitely, I read all the comments. And also don't forget to subscribe. So here in this channel, I've made it my goal to really speak to high achieving women who have a big life, a big vision for their lives, and they know that they were called to more. But when it comes to romantic relationships, they're really just trying to figure it out. No, sometimes it could be frustrating. Like, I totally get it. And I'm here with just some information that I want to share with you, so we can get to some deeper level of understanding. Because one thing I know for sure is that generic dating advice will not work and does not work, especially for a woman of your caliber. We have to get to deeper level conversations that allows us to change, because the truth is, I have gone through some of the things that I'm talking about, right? I've experienced abandonment wounds as a child. I experienced a rejection as a child, and that has impacted how I showed up in a romantic relationship. So even when love is there, even when they're high achieving, even when they're good, you can sabotage that relationship just because of your own triggers and the things that you've been through in the past, right? Subscribe, and you know, if you have any questions in the comments, okay? I'll see you in the next video. Bye.